Hi, I'm Nicole Roberts Jones, and welcome to The Fierce Files. Now, what I know for sure is that one of life's greatest gifts will meet you when you go after your more. And so here is why I share with you thought-provoking insight and behind-the-curtain conversations with women who have reached the pinnacle of success because they went after their more. Now, I really want you to get this. One idea from these episodes can make a remarkable difference, not just in your career, but in your life. And I want to make sure you join the conversation in our Facebook group. So go to findyourfiercemovement.com. Now grab your pen and get ready for today's session of The Fierce Files. Hi, this is Nicole Roberts Jones, and welcome to the Season 2 premiere of The Fierce Files. And as we start the second season, I want to continue to hold the space for you to go after your more. And I want to start by sharing with you something that got dropped in my spirit. Now, first, I have to tell you that at the end of every year, I sit in quiet contemplation, asking God, what is the theme, the focus, not just for me, but for every woman that I'm blessed to coach and teach. I ask Him what should be our focus for the next year. And what God whispered in my soul is that 2019 is our year to multiply. And the Bible verse that popped in my spirit in this very moment was Genesis 1:28 that says, "Then God blessed them. And God said to them, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." Now, you have to know that anytime I have ever heard this Bible verse, ever since I was little, I've always thought of it being about having kids, about being fertile. So being that I'm almost 50 years old, when God first dropped this in my spirit, that 2019 was our year to multiply, I thought hold on, Lord, are you trying to tell me that this is the year for me to have a baby? Now, don't get me wrong. I have plenty of children. I have stepchildren, which I call my bonus children. I have godchildren, but I have never naturally birthed a child. And so I felt a little fear coming over me because I'm in no way ready to have a baby, right? But what God began to reveal to me is that the Bible verse is more than just about having birth, or I should say giving birth or having children. It's about each of us, you and me. It's about us being fruitful with the gifts that God has given to us and multiplying it. See, it's one thing to have a gift. It's another thing to realize that the very thing you love to do and are really, really great at are actually tied to the purpose God put you on earth to fulfill. And our mission for 2019 is to multiply it. So when God placed this in my spirit, actually, to be honest with you, usually every year I sit in quiet contemplation. It's usually between Christmas and New Year. But in 2018, God gave it to me at the end of August. And to be honest, quite honest with you, I wasn't even sitting in quiet contemplation. He just dropped it in my spirit. So that makes me even more excited because I've been sitting with this since August. So it's been a minute, right? And so since I got this word, I've had quite some time to sit with it and study it. So allow me to dig deeper with you here so that I can set our mission for the year. Now, I am in no way a Bible scholar, but I'm someone who loves to study what my grandmother used to call the word, right? And as I started to study multiply more and more, I started by just looking up the word multiply in the Bible. Now, did you know that the word multiply is mentioned over 41 times in the Bible? I pulled out my old trusty concordance and looked up the word multiply 41 times. And I didn't even count the number of times it said multiplieth or multiplying. I'm just talking about multiply. Now, the concept of multiply is seen in many Bible stories and many also of the miracles Jesus performed. So a couple that come to mind are the widow and her pot of oil. Now, there's a story in 2 Kings 4:1-7. Again, 2 Kings 4:1-7. I was going to say in Elijah, but it's Elijah in the story. So a woman, her husband has died and he left with this debt and the debtors were coming after her. And she said, all I have is a little bit of pot of oil and it's only enough for me to cook for tonight for me and my son. And what Elisha did was told her to take that oil and multiply it. Go read the whole story, 2 Kings 4:1-7. Then there's the parable of Jesus feeding the multitude, right? Where Jesus feeds 5,000 with only 1 fish and 5 loaves, right? 5 loaves of bread. That's in Matthew 14:13-21. And then one of my favorites is the parable of the wedding feast, where Jesus made water into wine. Matthew 22, 1 through 14. Now, these are just a few examples, right? But in all of them, what happened is they used what they already had to multiply. Now, even in the parable of the talents. Now, I talked about this in season 1, episode 10, and that episode is called the Matthew effect. So I'm not going to go deep here. You can go back and listen to that episode to get all the yumminess around it. But the parable of the talents is one of Jesus's most significant parables regarding work. Now, if you want to read the whole passage, it's Matthew 25, 14 through 30. Now, in this passage, it tells the story of a rich man who delegates the management of his wealth to his employees. So what this man does, he has a large amount of money. They call it talents. And he gives 5 talents to the first employee. He gives 2 talents to the second employee. And then he gives 1 talent to a third employee. So 2 of the employees take their talents and invest them and earn 100% returns, right? But the third employee, he hides the money in the ground and earns nothing. So what happens is when the rich man returns, he rewards the 2 who made more, who multiplied it from what they had, but he severely punishes the employee who did nothing with what he was given. So this whole notion of multiply is God asking you, he's asking me, he's asking all of us, what are you doing with what I have given you? I want you to imagine that God is the wealthy man in that story. And as you, his employee, he has given you talents and gifts. And all he's asking you to do is multiply it. So to dive even deeper into being fruitful and multiply, I looked up the word multiply in the dictionary, right? So Bible verses are great and going to my concordance is great. And I can go all deep in that. But I said, let me look it up in the dictionary. So here's what the dictionary said multiply means. It said increase or cause to increase greatly in number or quantity. So then I looked at fruitful in the dictionary. And what the dictionary said that fruitful means is producing good results, beneficial, profitable, producing an abundant growth. So here's what I want you to get. Your DNA was placed in you. And anytime, by the way, I say DNA, I'm talking about your distinct natural ability. See, it was placed in you when you were born to this world, and it is tied to your purpose. See, that's right. You came here on special assignment, and that is what God wants you to be fruitful and multiply with. He wants you to produce good results, to be beneficial, profitable, producing an abundant growth from the gifts and talents that are in you. Matter of fact, you produce helpful results by understanding that your DNA is the answer to somebody's problem, and you commit your career, your business, to being the answer to those that need you. And it is from that you are productive, and that productivity produces your increase. So yeah, that's how you multiply. So it's one thing to know you have a gift. It's another thing to be committed to do what it takes to grow it. See, when you commit to grow the gift in you, you multiply. And as you grow it and you start to build a business or a career around it, you multiply. When you serve all those that need you from your gifts and talents, you multiply. And when you serve more people, you also make more money, which means you multiply. Are you getting this? So as I studied even more and more, this whole notion of multiply, I pulled out my study tools. Of course, I said this earlier, my concordance, my study Bible. And I'm going to tell you, in my study Bible, right under this Bible verse, again, the Bible verse is Genesis 1:28 that I read a few minutes ago, right? This whole being fruitful and multiply. Now I'm going to tell you in my study Bible right underneath it. Woo! So good. Now I'm only going to read part of what it said because it was really long, but we only need part of it to get the gist, right? Now here's what my study Bible said right underneath it. It said capacity and ability constitute accountability and responsibility. We should never be pleased to dwell on a level of existence lower than that on which God has made it possible for us to dwell. We should strive to be the best we can be and to reach the highest levels we can reach. To do less is to be unfaithful stewards of the life entrusted to us by God. Now you got to know, when I first read that, I was woo! Because that was so good. At least it was to me, right? So I know you're listening to this episode because you don't want to be an unfaithful steward of the life entrusted to you by God, right? So let me use this explanation from my study Bible. And as I do, I'm going to give you a charge in 3 parts to multiply 2019. You ready? To multiply in 2019. I'm going to give you a charge in 3 parts. You ready? So here's your first part. Now, I'm going to start with capacity and ability constitute accountability and responsibility, right? So let's talk about the first part of it, capacity and ability. Now, your DNA has given you a capacity and ability to do something that you are really, really good at. I call this your fears. It's the way you are wired, and it's what makes up your expertise. And for many of you, it's the thing that is producing your paycheck. And for far too long, you've been building somebody else's $1 billion brand when there's a $1 billion brand in you. And I really need you to get that. So my first charge for you to multiply in 2019 is for you to stop sitting in mediocre, to stop sitting in good enough around your gifts and talents. I want you to stop dreaming about it, and it's time to be about it. How about you stop playing small? How about you stop living in good enough and really go after that rumble in your belly this year? See, I believe that rumble in your belly, and I should say that I believe the thing making your belly rumble is connected to your ability to multiply, right? See, that rumble may be to start a business or to grow a business. And if that's you and you are not sure where to begin, or you need tools that can help you implement what you've been dreaming about. See, what I know for sure is that if you're making 6 figures, God will give you a 7-figure dream. It's a dream so big that it scares you. You have no idea how to get there, right? Matter of fact, I was in a mastermind program, and I was on one of our calls, and Ayanna Van Zant was the guest on that call. And Ayanna said this. She said, if your dream doesn't make you want to pee on yourself, you ain't dreaming big enough, right? So then I realized that I'm always in the right place to multiply, because I always feel like peeing on myself. How about you? Keeping it all the way real. Because my dreams are so much bigger than where I am right now. And that's what faith is. The substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So if you're saying yes, Nicole, you're talking to me, and if you're committed to multiply this year, I want to support you to do it. So I'm going to invite you to join me for a live online training on Monday, January 14th at 8 p.m. EST. So I'm going to do this live training where I teach you the 3 steps you need to multiply your gifts, to multiply your impact, and to multiply your ability to serve all that need you and get paid while you do it. So I'm going to be doing this live training in our Facebook group. So if you're not a member, then this is my invitation to you to join me. Go to findyourfiercemovement.com. That's fierce as in Sasha Fierce, right? Findyourfiercemovement.com. Now, if you're already a member, then all you need to do is mark your calendar. Again, it's Monday, January 14th at 8 p.m. EST. And if for some reason you're not able to join us live, then you can come back and watch the replay, which I will leave available to you there in the Facebook group. Again, join us at findyourfiercemovement.com. Now, that was just number 1. See, after it said capacity and ability in my study Bible, the next part said, and this is the whole sentence, the capacity and ability constitute accountability and responsibility. So let's talk about accountability and responsibility, which is your second charge to multiply this year, or really the reason you should go after it, right? See, there are a group of people that need that gift in you that you're accountable to. Matter of fact, they've been looking for that gift in you as the very answer they want, they need. See, they need it, and many of them have been praying for it. And every day you don't stand the power of your gift, you're holding up somebody's answered prayer. So yeah, this whole need to multiply is not even about you. It's about every person who needs you. And when you don't commit to be the answer, and you don't commit to stand in the power of that gift in you, you are being an unfaithful steward of the life entrusted to you by God. So my second charge to you is to think about who needs you. Who needs you, and who are you committed to multiply your gift for, right? Is it the woman or man in business that's in overwhelm and you have the exact system to give them freedom? Maybe you're so good at what you do at work, but I want you to imagine if you could systematize it and multiple corporations would pay you for it. Or maybe it's the woman who needs help with her wardrobe or health or whatever that might look like. Or maybe you're a lawyer and you're an accountant and you've turned so many clients away who can't afford you. But what do you still serve them in a way that you don't have to be present to do it? See, I could go on, but you have to know your gifts and talents are not an accident. They are the very way you were wired to serve the world. And my charge to you is to say yes, to be the answer to all those that need you, which then leads us to your third charge to multiply in 2019. See, I want you to get clear and set goals around what fruit you will produce in 2019. See, the Bible verse said, be fruitful and multiply, right? So when we talk about being fruitful, let me ask you, have you ever eaten a fruit that wasn't done, that wasn't ripe? You would probably either say it was rotten or it wasn't done yet, right? Well, that's the same thing that I can say to you about your gift. Many of you are working at a job that's not allowing you to water the seed of your gift. It's not allowing you to grow that gift in you. And so you sit in a space that you're not even bearing fruit, let alone being able to multiply it. Or maybe what you really need are the tools and strategies to grow that gift in you alongside your big corporate job without letting go of your paycheck. Oh, I get it. See, one of my favorite quotes is the tools you have used on this level are not sufficient for your next. I'm going to say that one more time. The tools you have used on this level are not sufficient for your next. And so if you're going to up level how you serve the world, or really for all of those that need you, you have to commit to grow the gift that's in you, to do the work to grow it. See, it's in that work that you produce your harvest. That's how you be fruitful. And I'm going to say be fruitful, right? So what will you do to grow the gift in you? Will you go back to school or attend some other formalized training to get a certificate of some kind? Will you attend a conference or a workshop? Will you hire a coach? See, I don't know about you, but I want my fruit fully produced. I want it to be fully developed and ready. And that's what God wants for you. That's what God wants for me. And 2019 is our year to do that. And that is why I invite you to join me live. Again, it's Monday, January 14th, 8 p.m. EST, because I'm going to give you the tools to learn how you be fruitful and multiply. Because a seed should not be uprooted before it has been fully produced. And too many of us are uprooting. So, giving up on your dreams, or maybe you're just putting it on pause for a minute, or maybe you just don't have the resources it will take to grow it, simply because you don't truly understand seed, time, and harvest. And you aren't taking the time to invest and fertilize and harvest what God has placed in you. And why should you even say yes to multiply? If you don't know by now, I just gave you the 3 answers, right? Or 2 of them. And just as the notes in the same section of my study Bible said, we should never be pleased to dwell on a level of existence lower than that on which God has made it possible for us to dwell. See, that gift in you made a abundant life available for you. So if you're already in 6 figures, there's 7 figures waiting for you. If you're already $1 million, there's $1 billion dream waiting for you to harvest. See, we should strive. This is from the Study Bible. We should strive to be the best we can be and reach the highest levels we can reach. And so who you were in 2018, I'm saying this with all the love in me. See, that version of you is over. See, I'm coming as your sister in the journey for your next best version of you. See, your resume and your bio is over. So I'm not coming for what you've already done. I'm coming for what you have not yet achieved. And if that's you, I look forward to serving you. And for those of you that already went to Find Your Fierce Movement and you're joining me on Monday, January 14th, come and get the powerful additional insight and tools that you need so that you can and you will multiply in 2019. Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Fierce Files. Now, I want you to walk away from these episodes with value, so grab your pen and answer either one or all 3 of these questions. Number 1, what was your greatest takeaway? Number 2, what will you do differently as a result of what you heard? So you may have heard something you've already heard before, or you may have learned something new. Either way, don't take the insight that was shared with you for granted. So commit to doing one thing different because of what you heard. Number 3, what was confirmation for you? What did you hear that confirmed you're on the right path? See, I want you to take a moment and celebrate you. Too often in our journey, we focus on what we're not doing and we forget to celebrate what we are doing. So what was something that showed you that you're headed in the right direction? Now, I want you to share your answers. Share your answer to either number 1, what was your greatest takeaway? Number 2, what would you do different? Or number 3, what was confirmation for you? And share it in our Facebook community. So go to findyourfiercemovement.com and use the hashtag FierceFiles. Now, each experience we encourage, support, and celebrate as a community. It allows us to expand in possibility and wisdom, in encouragement and love. Now, we've invited you into our community to deepen our journey with being the answer someone needs and in being committed to your next level. So until the next time, be extraordinary, be unapologetic, be bodaciously you, go and be fierce.